I'm a registered vascular tech. I work in the vascular lab. I do diagnostic ultrasound on peripheral vascular, so that's arms, legs, neck, some abdominal, and it's arteries and veins. It was literally my midlife crisis, and I was looking to change careers. And in networking, a good friend of mine was the medical director of cardiology at Jewish Hospital, and he said, I have a program for you. So I quit my job and I went back to school and trained to be a cardiovascular ultrasound tech. Well, I had left project engineering and moved to a market research company where I was a project director and really had very little contact with people. I was all behind the scenes, and I found that I really missed the contact with people. At the same time, I was helping take care of my aunt and uncle, and realized that healthcare appealed to me, that though I believe every work has value, there's that added bonus of helping someone that's in need. Probably one of the hardest things I've ever done was to go back to school, but I figured I was going to turn 50 one way or another. My last rotation was at Florence Vascular Lab, and it was a good fit. They offered me the job and I accepted. Probably the best thing I ever did. I loved working there, and I love working at St. Elizabeth. So when people ask me, do you like where you work? And I'm like, well, I've got the trifecta. 1, I feel valued and I feel respected. 2, I have great management. And 3, I'm very well compensated. I mean, I don't know how it gets any better than that. I always say I did not grow up in a typical American home. I did not grow up in a typical Jewish American home. I grew up in my mother's home. It was all about education. It was about family. It was about Judaism and Israel. I had great parents. My folks both lived to be 90. My dad was a chemical engineer. He worked on the Manhattan Project, on the bomb. And he was an exceptional man. My mother was a teacher, and she taught until she was 80. She had boundless energy, and both were very kind, wonderful people. I grew up in a very loving, warm home. I was very fortunate. When I was 19, I moved overseas, and I lived in Israel for 7 years. I studied at the Hebrew University there, and I also lived on a kibbutz working with children. My original degree is in early childhood development. Well, I got there in August of '73. In October, there was the '73 war, the Yom Kippur War. I was with a family in Jerusalem. School had shut down because the professors and most of the students were soldiers and not home. They were at the war. So as the overseas students, we took places working in bakeries or stores, factories, just to keep the economy going. And then in the evening, everything would shut down. Everything was blacked out. You could walk on the streets, but in Jerusalem there were three stores open. We'd hit them. There was a pizza place, there was a falafel place, and ice cream, and then we'd walk on back to the house. I know everybody values the service our soldiers give, but I've lost friends in war, and I really appreciate that sacrifice because it's very personal to me, as there are, I'm sure, many people who have faced that in their lives here, but I never forgot how valuable life really is. You can't waste a moment of it because it truly may not be there tomorrow.
So by the time I was 5, I walked in the kitchen and I said, "Do little girls ride their own motorcycle?" And they said, "Uh-oh." So instead of saying, "No, you're a girl," they went straight away and bought me a bike, and I've been riding ever since.